Scarlet and Violet have been out for a little while now, so let's go ahead and talk about the designs of the Pokemon that make up the game. I'll give you guys my opinions on what I think about all these designs. So this generation gave us a lot of new Pokemon, some really good designs, some really bad designs, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on all these Pokemon and kind of my reasoning behind why I'm going to place them in these different tiers here. So at the very top we have the flawless tier, right under that we have the fantastic tier, then we have pretty good, we have average, we have bad, and then we have the remove from the game tier. And of course this is my opinion, so if you don't agree, that's perfectly okay. Just let me know in the comments if I got this wrong, or if you just happen to agree with all my picks here, okay? And with that being said, we have to start off with the trio here, the trio of starters, of course. We've got Sprigatito, we've got Quaxly, and of course we have Fuecoco as well. So I personally picked Quaxly for my run. I really like the design. Out of the three, I like it the most. I would put Quaxly, it's hard to call, it's hard to just start off on flawless, so I'm gonna put it in fantastic. I also think Fuecoco's design is pretty fantastic. Sprigatito, to me, it just looks like a regular cat Pokemon. I'm gonna throw it into the average tier. And as far as the evolutions go, I honestly really hate Quaxly's second evolution. I think it looks bad. Can't even lie to it. Florigato actually looks pretty good in my opinion. It's definitely a step up from Sprigatito. I mean, it is standing on two legs, which I don't really care for here, but I do think it's a better design overall. And then of course, Crocolore. It's a pretty cool design. I like the whole idea with the bird's nest and everything. I'm gonna throw that up to fantastic too. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this, you know, as the game kind of came out and I saw the evolutions, I kind of regretted picking Quaxly a little bit, but I stayed loyal. I stuck with Quaxly. And going into the third forms of these starters, Meowscarda, not a huge fan of. It's not terrible. I'm gonna throw it into the average tier. And then of course Quaxly's final Evo, not a huge fan of either. I wouldn't say it's bad. I would say it's pretty average, honestly. Skeletor, just really cool design, and like I said, I'm kind of sad that I didn't pick it, but yeah, I'm just gonna throw it in fantastic. Overall, I think Fuecoco, all three are really good designs. The other starters have one or two, you know, of their stages that are pretty good. Other than that, they're you know, relatively average, a lot of them, or in this case, even bad. So yeah, I kind of regret picking my starter, but that's okay. And of course, we have Lechonk. You already know it goes into the flawless tier. This Pokemon brought so much hype when it was first announced. Really love the design. Its evolutions, on the other hand, not very good in my opinion. I mean, there's two different forms of it. It's basically just different colors here. That's really the only difference that I'm seeing here, and the tail's different, you know, little things like that. But I'm not a huge fan of the design, honestly. And for the bug Pokemon, in my opinion, they're pretty average. There's nothing really too crazy about them. I do think Low Kicks is pretty cool. I think it's a really cool design, honestly, so I'm gonna put it in pretty good. But as far as like Spidops goes, nothing too crazy. We have spider Pokemon that I think are better designs personally. It's an alright, you know, it's alright, I would say. I think Palmy's design is pretty good. Its evolutions, not so much. I'm just gonna throw it straight into average. I mean, it looks like the same Pokemon pretty much. I can't hate on the design of like, you know, the first form of it. I can't hate on the fact that its evolutions look exactly the same. So that's why I'm throwing the other two into average. I really hate the second form, to be honest, because when I see them in game, I'm like, it's like a little bit of a different shade of orange, so I always think it's shiny, but it's actually not. So yeah, I'm gonna throw Palmy in pretty good, everything else in average. And next we have Tandemaus and Maushold, both fantastic designs in my opinion. Obviously, you know, very simplistic, the evolution, nothing too crazy, but I really like the design, and I think a lot of people do. And of course for Fido and Dachshund, I gotta throw it in flawless. I'm a Dachshund owner, I have a Dachshund. So, I mean, it just has to go on flawless, you know? When we get to Smoliv, I think it was a really cool idea to have an olive Pokemon, something that we didn't really have in the past. Overall, it's very average again. I feel like a lot of these designs are kind of average, not gonna lie. Honestly, out of all of its evolutions, I do like Smoliv the most, so I guess I would maybe move that up to pretty good. I like the shiny form of the last form of it. I cannot pronounce that Pokemon for the life of me. So the shiny looks cool, but the design itself is kind of average. Guacabilly's design is pretty cool in my opinion. It's, you know, we do have pair Pokemon. We have Chatot, of course. I'm not gonna put all these forms up there. They're all the same thing basically, but like different colors here. I do think it's a pretty cool design overall. I really wish it'd have an evolution, but it's one of those, you know, kind of regional birds I feel like that are kind of just there, you know, like just flying around the region, like they're not meant to be good or anything. So overall, it's a decent design. And next up we have the Garganacl line, and even though I love this Pokemon, it is so good in the game, I'm not a fan of its design. I think its design is actually pretty bad. The Pokemon itself it's fantastic. I love using it. It's very strong. The design itself, I'm not a huge fan of. And for Armarouge and Cerulege, and of course this pre-evolution here, I was not a huge fan of them at first, but they've kind of grown on me. I guess the more that I kind of see them, the more they kind of grown on me. I'm gonna throw them in pretty good, all three of these things. Overall, pretty good designs. Like I said, it's grown on me. And we've got the belly bolt line. I love the design. I think it's fantastic. Pre-evolution is, pretty simple. It's like a tadpole, but a really cool idea in my opinion, so I'm gonna throw it pretty good. And for the regional electric bird, it's very average in my opinion. Nothing too crazy about it at all. I don't think that's a very controversial opinion right there. And when we get to the other regional dogs, up first is Mabostiff. Not a huge fan of it, to be honest. I'm gonna throw them both in bad. It's like my least favorite out of the three, to be honest. As far as like Greavard goes and its evolution, I really like Greavard. I think it's a fantastic design, honestly. Evolution's a little bit creepy, but I think it's supposed to be. I'm gonna throw it in pretty good. And we've got Graphite. I instantly love this Pokemon as soon as I saw the design. I think it's fantastic. Pre-evolution. Well, I guess, hold up. I said it was fantastic, but we have a tier above that. I thought it was flawless, my bad. As far as the pre-evolution goes, pretty good, nothing crazy, but yeah, I do think that design is flawless. And we got Bramblin and Brambleghast. Honestly, really cool ideas. Not a huge fan of the design, but I feel like what else are you gonna do to it? Like, it's like a tumbleweed, you know what I mean? You just slap some eyes on it, that's basically the design. Pretty average in my opinion, but really cool concept. And after that, we do have Toadschool and Toadscruel. I really love the shinies. I think it's really cool how they just completely changed them up, and I think it's hilarious to have Tentacool basically running on land, or a Pokemon that looks like Tentacool, I should say. So in my opinion, it's a really cool idea. I'm gonna throw it in pretty good. As far as the evolution goes, I think it's honestly fantastic. I really love the evolution. As far as Cloth goes, honestly very average. It's just kind of a basic crab. And after that, we do have After that, we do have Scoville at its pre-evolution. I love Scoville's design. I think it is honestly flawless. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna throw in fantastic. And the reason why I'm gonna put in fantastic is because it 100% looks like a middle stage evolution. It looks like there should be one more, evolution after it. And I'm very sad that it only has 2 stages to it. So I'm gonna throw in fantastic. I am waiting for that 3rd evolution, which is never gonna happen. As far as the pre-evolution looks, I honestly don't like it. I'm gonna throw it in bad. Rellor looks awful in my opinion. It's gonna be the first Pokemon we throw away to remove from the game. I'm sure you've all seen the viral picture going around of its face. It's just an ugly Pokemon. I don't like it. Its evolution is not much better. I'm gonna throw it in bad, but the pre-evolution looks horrible. And honestly, same thing with these next 2 Pokemon. I'm not a huge fan of them. They just kind of seem like in the game. Like, I haven't seen anything about these Pokemon. I don't see people really using them. I don't see people talking about them. I don't even remember their names, so I'm just gonna throw them into remove from the game. And of course, the Tinkaton line is next. Tinkaton's gonna go into flawless. A lot of people love this design. I think it's honestly really, really good. And the pre-evolutions are also really good. I'm gonna throw them into fantastic. Honestly, like one of the best evolution lines in my opinion in this game, and I kind of wish the Pokemon itself was better. After that, we have Wiglet and Wugtrio, 2 Pokemon that were revealed pretty early into the stage of the game. Obviously, before the game even came out, we got like a little reveal trailer for them. I feel like these Pokemon completely fell off though. Like, people just I haven't seen anything about these Pokemon. I would throw them into the average. There's really nothing too crazy about them. And then of course after that we do have Bombardier, I believe it's called. I'm kind of blanking out there on the name. It's a pretty good design. Nothing too crazy, but definitely better than average for sure. And I definitely, it seems like a standalone Pokemon. Like, there's no evolutions. I can definitely see it. So that doesn't bother me at all. After that we do have the Dolphin Pokemon. I mean, here's the thing about them. It's as far as design wise goes, they're very basic. This is about as average as it can be. I'm gonna throw both in here for Palafin and Finizen. And then I guess I should rank the other form of it. I'm gonna throw it in bad. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. Not a huge fan at all. Next up we have the Engine Pokemon, and like I said earlier, I am blanking on some of these names. I don't have them all memorized quite yet. Reverum is one of them, I know that for sure. But as far as like the pre-evolutions and all that goes, I'm pretty bad with the names. That being said, honestly, it's a decent design. It's a cool concept for the for the game. I think a Steel Poison type is not a bad typing, honestly. Obviously, you got some big weaknesses, but overall, pretty good design. Can't complain about them. And after that, we do have Cyclozar, and this is honestly a pretty good design as well, in my opinion. Not fantastic, not very average. I guess it would be average. I would throw it in average. It's basically the average form of the 2 legendaries. So yeah, I'm gonna throw it as average. Orthoworm, I'm really not a fan of. It's just a worm. I'm not a huge fan of worms in general. I think it's a pretty bad design. After that, we do have Glamora and its pre-evolution. For Glamora, I'm gonna throw it in average. I don't think it's anything too crazy. The pre-evolution, I'm not a huge fan of. I'm gonna throw that in bad. After that, we do have Flamigo. That's about as average as can be. It's literally just a flamingo. And then after that, we do have Cetitan and Citadel. Two designs that I'm really not a fan of, if I'm being honest. When they first got revealed, I wasn't hyped for them at all. I'm gonna throw them in bad as well. And again, you know, very good Pokemon. I like to use them, but I don't think the designs are good. And next up, we have this fish, which I literally cannot remember the name of. It just kind of feels out of place. Like this Pokemon, in my opinion, it's just so random. But I love the design. I think it's honestly a really good design. I'm gonna throw it to Fantastic. I kind of like feel like there should be an evolution to it or a pre-evolution. There's not, so you know, that's okay, but I think the design itself is pretty good. And of course, we have Dondozo and Tatsugiri, two of my favorite Pokemon from this generation. I'm actually gonna throw Dondozo all the way up to flawless. I really love the design of this Pokemon. Tatsugiri is not far off from it. I'm gonna throw that into fantastic. But Dondozo's design I really like. It's definitely one of my favorite Pokemon from this generation. As well as Clodsire, another Pokemon that I absolutely love. Gonna throw that into flawless as well. Annihilate is another Pokemon that's kind of grown on me. At first, I absolutely hated the design. I've obviously seen it a lot. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon, so I see it everywhere. I'm gonna throw it into pretty good. Girafarig Evolution, in my opinion, very average. Not a whole lot changed to it, so I'm just gonna throw it over there. Dunsparce's evolution is about as average as it can get. It's so average that I'm actually gonna throw it into bad because I feel like they did nothing to this Pokemon. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna throw it into remove from the game. Like, this is an awful idea. You know, Dunsparce is one of those Pokemon that's been hyped up for no reason, and for them to finally give it an evolution, or for it to be that bad, to just be like basically the same thing, just add some tails to it, I'm gonna throw it into remove from the game. And I just realized that I did forget about Wooper down here, who's also going to go up to flawless. Definitely one of my favorite Pokemon. And of course, this is not biased at all because it is my opinion, like I said. So, you know, obviously, if I like a Pokemon, I'm gonna throw it up a little bit higher than some other ones. So, you know, that's why the list is what it is. King Gambit, a lot of people hate the design. A lot of people love it. I'm one of the people that actually loves it. So I'm gonna throw that up to fantastic. And then of course we do have the new Tauros form. Pretty good, nothing too crazy, but definitely better than average. We also have the kind of pseudo legendary here, Baxcalibur and its pre-evolutions. Baxcalibur's design I honestly don't like at all. I do think the first form of it is pretty good, and the second form is also very average. So they're all gonna fall on different tiers here, but that's kind of my opinion on those. And the last kind of like regular Pokemon that we have is Gimmighoul, and of course its evolution, Goldango. Gimmighoul, really cool design. Throw it up to fantastic. Goldango, not a fan of, but again, I see it so often. It's like the more I see it, the more I kind of like it. I'm gonna throw it into bad though, because I feel like when I first saw Gimmighoul, I had so many like cool ideas for evolutions, and for that to be the evolution, it just seems so crazy. Like, it's definitely not what anybody expected. I'm gonna throw it into bad for now. And lastly, we do have the Paradox Pokemon, and of course all the legendaries. So let's go ahead and start off with the legendaries. Starting off with Miraidon and Koraidon. I do actually like Koraidon more, even though I have Violet and, you know, all of that. I'm gonna throw Koraidon up to fantastic. Really good design overall. Miraidon, I'm gonna kind of place it. Oops, I'm gonna place it. Let's see. I'm throwing into pretty good. I like Koraidon a little bit more than the Miraidon. And out of our 4 other legendaries that we do have, first up is the Saber-Tooth Tiger, which, by the way, I know like none of these names. I see these Pokemon so often, but like I don't take the time to learn all the names. So I do think this one's the best out of all of them. I'm gonna throw that into fantastic. After that, we do have the Fish. This one is going to be in the pretty good tier, as well as the Deer, also going to go up to pretty good. And lastly is Mr. Snail over here, who's gonna go to... It's a tough one. I guess I'll throw it into average. I don't hate the design, but I definitely don't love it. And last up are all the Paradox Pokemon. Starting off with, of course, the past form of Donphan. One of my favorite Paradox Pokemon. I would almost consider it flawless. That's where I'm gonna put it. We're gonna start off strong by putting it in flawless. The future form I really don't like so much. I think it's honestly pretty bad, but the past form of it looks really cool in my opinion. We've also got Screamtail. Another bad one in my opinion. Not a huge fan of this design. It's kind of just Jigglypuff with like hair. Not a huge fan of it, so I'm gonna throw it into bad. We've got Brute Bonnet, probably one of my favorite ones. Again, a lot of these past Paradox forms I really love. I'm gonna throw that up in flawless. It's just so funny to see Amoonguss like walking around. I really love the design. We've also got Fluttermane, which literally kind of just looks like Misdreavus. I guess it goes into average, like nothing really changed. We've got the past form of Volcarona. Really cool design. I'm gonna throw it into pretty good. Nothing too crazy, but again, better than average. And for its future form, same thing. I'm not, you know, I don't love the design, but I definitely don't hate it. Definitely better than average in my opinion, so we're gonna throw it up to pretty good. And we've got Sandy Shocks here, again, another Pokemon that has a pretty good design in my opinion. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bad, definitely better than average. Iron Bundle is one that I really enjoy. I'm gonna throw this one up to fantastic. I wouldn't put it in flawless. There's, like I said, flawless, there's not gonna be a whole lot of Pokemon there. That's definitely, we've got the least amount up in flawless. I guess removed from the game is actually the least amount, but flawless is next after that, so there's not gonna be a whole lot in flawless. Iron Hands, you know, it's a Pokemon that really changed up from Hariyama, but it definitely has that core design, which I really enjoy. It's gonna go up to pretty good. And we have the future form of Hydreigon. I'm actually gonna throw this into remove from the game. I feel like it's like the Pokemon itself is not very good, and the design doesn't really change at all, to be honest. Like, at least like with, you know, Screamtail, we get some hair here. What was the other one? Misdreavus looks a little bit different, I guess. Like, I don't know. I feel like they could have done something else, man. They should have done something else. We got the future form of Tyranitar. Looks really cool. Looks like a robot. I guess all the future forms kind of look like robots, but this one really looks like a robot. And I'm going to throw it into... I'll throw it up to fantastic. Why not? We've got the past form of Salamence. Really good design. I'm gonna throw it up to pretty good. Overall, the color is really nice. I love the shiny form of it too. And lastly, we have Iron Valiant. This is a really, really cool design. I love it, honestly. It's gonna go up to flawless. Definitely deserves to be there. And as you can see with flawless, it is kind of just one row. Everything else has like 2 rows, 3 rows. So I think that's a good amount right there for flawless. And that right there is my entire list, everybody. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I'm sure people will voice their opinions in the comments. As far as flawless goes, I think, you know, this is very fair. I'm obviously biased with, you know, with the Darkspun, of course. Lechonk's kind of up there for the memes, but I do think the design is really cool. But I think most of these, you know, kind of got right in the flawless tier. When we get to the fantastic tier, definitely Pokemon that deserve to be there, in my opinion, of course. And then we get to pretty good and average. These are kind of interchangeable. There's some Pokemon that can definitely be swapped around. When we get to bad, definitely, I think most of those deserve to be there. And as far as removed from the game goes, yeah, I'm not a fan of really any of those Pokemon, to be honest. I didn't think I was going to put a Paradox Pokemon down here, but I think it's deserved. With that being said, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite Pokemon is in this generation. Mine has to be Darkspun, of course. As far as the Paradox Pokemon go, I love Brubonnet. That's definitely my favorite out of those. So those are kind of my 2 favorites. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It always helps out. And if you guys really enjoyed it, I can definitely do another video like this, but ranking the shiny forms with all the Pokemon. I hope everyone's enjoying Scarlet and Violet as much as I have been. It's definitely a fun game. I'm excited for future DLC and all that kind of stuff, and I'm really glad to see the Pokemon Company kind of take the games into this direction. With that being said, that's it for the video today, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.